The year is 1892, and an old German doctor holds in his hand a vial of vial cholera bacteria. These bacteria had been responsible for millions of deaths, but the elderly man takes the vial and drinks it down to the last drop. Why did he do such a thing, and what happened to him? Let's find out. Hello, and welcome to the Historical Science Channel. We hope you enjoy exploring the fascinating, lesser-known stories from the world of science. Best of all, no background in science or history is needed. Just an open mind and eager curiosity. Let's begin. Before we go into the details of why Max von Pettenkofer drank cholera bacterium, we need to know the context behind his actions. What events in his life led him to that pivotal moment? Max von Pettenkofer was born in Bavaria in 1818, one of 8 children in a poor family. He did receive a good education and excelled at his studies. In fact, he did so well he was accepted to university and studied chemistry and medicine. While at college, he also studied acting and wrote poetry. He received a medical degree in 1845 and began an illustrious career. Amongst his many accomplishments, he made advances to coinage, created a test for bile, invented a teeth filler, and studied hygiene. He even established chairs for hygiene at major universities. His introduction in cholera came about in 1851 when he began researching ways to combat its spread. In 1854, he analyzed outbreaks in Munich and other German cities. Cholera is a nasty disease, and its victims often died from dehydration. It's caused by a bacterium called Vibrio cholera. Symptoms include diarrhea, vomiting, and dehydration. An individual named John Snow. No, not that one. Yes, there he is. Was an English physician who proposed that cholera was linked to contaminated water and had conducted groundbreaking research on the disease that Pettenkofer was also trying to remedy. While he did respect the work of John Snow, oh dear, I'm going to have to fire someone soon. While he did respect the work of John Snow, Pettenkofer was not convinced that drinking contaminated water caused the spread of cholera. However, he did believe in promoting hygiene. He once stated,
"For good health, pure water is as necessary as pure air, good food, comfortable quarters, and so forth. I myself am an enthusiast in the matter of drinking water, but not from fear of cholera or typhoid fever, but simply from a pure love for the good."
Pettenkofer said in 1869 that both cholera and typhoid fever may have been due to microorganisms, but did not believe they were the only cause of disease. His hypothesis, based on his own research and experience, was that 4 criteria were needed for an epidemic. 1. A specific germ. 2. Favorable local conditions. 3. Favorable seasonal conditions. And 4. Individual conditions for one exposed to the bacteria. This brought him into conflict with Robert Koch. Koch had made a name in pathology for his work with anthrax. His brilliant innovations had provided incredibly strong evidence of the germ theory of disease. He created a set of postulates to determine whether a specific bacteria caused a certain ailment. He had also isolated Vibrio cholera and publicly stated that it was transmitted through polluted water. Pettenkofer was a skeptic, as his experiences hadn't convinced him that cholera alone was dangerous. He strongly believed that the disease requires certain conditions to be deadly and was willing to literally put his money where his mouth was. He sent a letter to Koch asking for a sample of this bacterium. Koch sent the old doctor bacteria isolated from a man who was dying of the terrible affliction. Thus we find ourselves at the fateful moment when Pettenkofer holds in his hand a cubic centimeter of the bacteria that had destroyed so many lives. He neutralized his stomach acid with sodium bicarbonate, took the vial, and drank it down. So what happened next? Did he succumb to cholera like so many others? It turns out that in this case, no symptoms developed except light diarrhea with an enormous proliferation of the bacilli in the stool. Why did he not get full cholera? It turns out there may be many potential reasons. Some have suggested that his constitution and intestinal microbiome was able to resist the worst of it. Others have speculated that he had contracted cholera earlier in his life and still had some residual immunity. Some students of Pettenkofer also took drinks of cholera and developed severe cases, but fortunately nobody died. Was this a blow to Koch and his ideas about immunology? We have to remember the context of the time. The late 1800s were a golden age of microbiology, as new advances and brilliant researchers were able to finally bring the might of science to bear against the tiny scourges that had plagued humanity since time immemorial. Unfortunately, the intense complexity of life science made discoveries difficult. Multiple hypotheses on the cause and nature of disease were fighting for supremacy, and Pettenkofer had taken a side. It turns out that both scientists had fragments of the truth, though Koch's ideas turned out to be closer. We now know that while bacteria and viruses do cause disease, there are many other factors that can determine whether an exposed individual will show symptoms. Even today, scientists are still trying to figure out the mysteries of disease and health. Pettenkofer did not perform his experiment lightly. He certainly understood that death was a possible outcome. On the subject, he gave us this inspiring insight into his thoughts on the matter.
Even if I had deceived myself and the experiment endangered my life, I would have looked death quietly in the eye, for mine would have been no foolish or cowardly suicide. I would have died in the service of science like a soldier on the field of honor. Health and life are, as I have so often said, very great earthly goods, but not the highest for man. Man, if he will rise above the animals, must sacrifice both life and health for the higher ideals.
In the end, Max von Pettenkofer's bold experiment reflects the spirit of scientific inquiry in the 19th century, a time when the pursuit of knowledge often demanded great personal risk and unwavering conviction. While his conclusions about cholera were not entirely correct, his work contributed to the broader understanding of disease and the interplay of environmental, microbial, and individual factors in health. His willingness to put his life on the line for science is a testament to his dedication to the pursuit of truth. This story reminds us that science thrives not only on triumphs but also on courage. The courage to fail, to revise, and to learn. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It's really appreciated